Well, hey everybody, it's Pat Mesiti here, and today we are going to blow the door off the hinges. I know for many of you it's been tough, and we have suffered incredibly over the last 3 years under what I call a communist with lipstick. And I've said that jokingly. However, today I'm going to be interviewing author, speaker, activist, and a great guy, Trevor Loudon, who's written an incredible book called Comrade Prime Minister. And I'll tell you, it is eye-opening, it is frightening, it is, well, it's a wake-up call, Australia. We've got an election coming on, and we can't have people like this running our country. Trevor, thanks for being on today.
Oh, it's an honor, Pat. Thanks for having me, sir.
Mate, you're a brave man putting out a book like that. What prompted you to write this book?
Look, I've been studying the Australian communist movement for some years from New Zealand because, New Zealand depends so much on Australia. If Australia goes bad, New Zealand suffers too. I now live in the United States. Look, Trump is facing China in the Pacific right now, and he needs allies. And the key ally he needs is Australia to counter the Chinese influence that's growing through the Pacific. Now, when you've got a prime minister like Albanese and a foreign minister like Penny Wong, both of whom are hardcore communists, both of whom are way more pro-China than they are pro-American or pro-British or whatever, you've got a major problem for Trump. You've got a major problem for the Americans. That's a problem for Taiwan. That's a problem for New Zealand, Samoa, Papua New Guinea. Everybody in the Asia Pacific region has a problem with Albanese. They don't realize he's a communist. He is trying to drag drag Australia permanently to the Chinese orbit. And I don't think many Australians would go for that if they knew what he was about.
So Trevor, people say, yeah, right, Trevor. Okay, what proof do you have that our Prime Minister is affiliated, an associate of the Communist Party? I mean, is this just a conspiracy? Have you got an axe to grind? What literal proof do you have of that?
Yeah, well, look, the book is 398 pages long. It's full of references, pictures, documents, communist documents, etc. What I did, I commissioned archival research, and I traced Anthony Albanese's background and associates back to his university days at the University of Sydney, where he was heavily affiliated with the Left Alliance, which was the Communist Party's student wing at the time. He has worked with the Communist Party of Australia extensively through that time, participated in their campaigns, worked with their comrades. In 1990, the Communist Party dissolved and set up a group called the Search Foundation based in Sydney with $3 million of Communist Party money. They have since spent the last 30 years infiltrating the Australian Greens to the very highest level and the left wing of the ALP, the Australian Labor Party, to the highest level. He has worked with these people every single step of the way. He has gone to their conferences, pushed their causes, promoted their people. His chief of staff, Tim Gartrell, is a Search Foundation member, called by The Australian as the third most covertly powerful person in Australia, a member of a secret Marxist group, and Anthony Albanese's chief of staff and former general secretary of the Labor Party, by the way.
Wow.
So I've traced this all the way. I look at the backgrounds of Penny Wong. I look at the backgrounds of Linda Burney, who also has a deep communist background.
Tell us about that, because Bernie had so much to say during that stupid campaign divorce, and of course Penny Wong. Can you dig us a little deeper into these two?
Well, particularly Linda Burney, it's in the book, her keynoting Communist Party gatherings back in the 80s in Sydney, actually, speaking at the Communist Party's Christmas party, being interviewed in the Communist Party newspaper, working with the Search Foundation. See, the Search Foundation, the Communist Party, took over the Tranby Aboriginal Training School in Sydney. And that's been a training school for radicals. They had ties with the Libyans, the Philippines Communist Party, the Cubans, and Linda Burney was right in that set, along with a whole bunch of Albanese Confederates like Meredith Bergman and others. And
Wow.
so she came out of that Marxist radical set. And that is the set that spawned the voice movement, the voice
Wow.
referendum. That was 100% a cause of the Search Foundation. Even Thomas Mayo, the mouth of the Search, he is a Search Foundation member, mentored by the very famous Northern Territories communist Fred Manning, who was the leader of the Communist Party in Darwin, then moved into the Search Foundation. Well, that's Thomas Mayo. You know, the
Wow.
guy is a hardcore communist. So, but Albanese has promoted these. It's like a little mafia
Yeah.
that has promoted each other to take over the left wing of the Labour Party, to take over the Greens and the Aboriginal rights movement, plus the peace movement, plus the Labour Environmental Action Network. They've got, and the ACTU. They completely control the, Linda McManus, Sally McManus, the head of the ACTU, is a former Search Foundation vice president. This clique of maybe 600 people controls most of Australia's major institutions and is absolutely working to implement the policies of the old Communist Party. And the Search Foundation, the voice referendum being but one of them. They came close to changing Australia's constitution permanently. That's how much power these people have.
When you've got Hamas and China praising you, that's concern for Australia. And people go, oh, well, see that it's not that bad. We've got China and you've got the Communist Party and the most radical terrorist group on the planet endorsing you. I don't know why people can't see it. Why aren't people seeing this, Trevor?
Well, because the media really doesn't make the connections for them. The media just casts, oh, this is nice. Look, any Australian should be very concerned that the Chinese Communist Party would ever say anything nice about Anthony Albanese.
Yeah.
That's right there. They don't say a lot of nice things about President Trump, do they?
But do you know what I find interesting? I interviewed Bronwyn Bishop a couple of times. She's a lovely lady, and the former Prime Minister, and they said when they were in that room in Parliament, they never saw any leadership qualities that would have Albo be Prime Minister. Do you think, and I get to Penny Wong and say, do you think he was handpicked by the Communist Party?
Look, he was picked up by Tom Uren right from the early days. He was Tom Uren, Bruce Childs, Arthur Geitselt. These were all people identified as secret Communist Party members by Mark Ahrens, the son of Laurie Ahrens, the former head of the Communist Party of Australia.
Wow.
He said all these people were secret communists. They were all of Albanese's mentors. They picked him out in his early 20s. And they have guided his career every single step of the way ever since. Yeah, there is nothing special about Albanese, except that he is a communist and the protege of Tom Uren, Bruce Childs, Arthur Geitselt, all famous figures from the New South Wales Labor Party and the National Labor Party, who were at certain times secret members of the Communist Party of Australia and all close associates of Laurie Ahrens, the head of the Communist Party of Australia. So when Search came along, they have promoted Albanese's career every step of the way. They got behind him when he first ran for the leadership of the Labor Party against Bill Shorten. They failed the first time. They got him in the second time. They took over the executive of the Australian Labor Party in 2019, which paved the way for the election in 2022. 100% Albanese has been put in place by the communist movement in Australia, which is loyal to the Communist Party of China. So it's no surprising that he's been called the most pro-China prime minister since Gough Whitlam back in the 70s.
Penny Wong. I have my alarm bells ringing on Penny Wong. And obviously her colors are showing every time she goes to the UN. Tell us about Penny Wong and her association with the Communist Party of Australia, aka Search. I want you to remember that, guys. Search. They've just gone in this organization and they've repackaged and rebranded. Can you tell everyone what we are facing with our foreign minister here?
You've got a very pro-China foreign minister. She hates the United States. She hates the Western Alliance. She has been to China, 3 times, I think, or had meetings with Chinese officials 3 times, 4 times in the last couple of years. Look, I'm going to release some more stuff about Penny Wong later, but there are family ties to the CCP that go back a long way.
Wow.
And she was involved in CISLAC at university. This was a front for the Democratic Socialist Party, the old Socialist Workers' Party, the Trotskyists. So she was initially in the Trotskyist circles. Then she went into the left wing of the Labour Party, a protege of Nick Bolkus, who was very much involved with the Communist Party and the hard left. And they promoted her, much like they promoted Albanese. They got her in Parliament pretty early on from South Australia, and they have guided her career, and she is continuously supporting Search Foundation causes. You see many photographs of her with Search Foundation people. And the big thing she's doing right now is she's trying to undermine the AUKUS agreement to buy the nuclear submarines, because China doesn't like that. So she is using a Search-affiliated Labour Party politician, Susan Templeman, to get Australia signed up to the international treaty to ban nuclear weapons, which is an old communist program guided by the Chinese and once by the Soviet Union. So she's using the Search Foundation is trying to get Australia signed up to that, which will undermine any future Western alliance to the benefit of China. So she's playing a double game, because Albanese can't come out and say, I'm pro-China, I want to get rid of the submarines because China doesn't like it. He's got to sort of go along with it right now till the second term, but he's subtly him and Penny Wong are undermining it by signing Australia up to this anti-nuclear treaty, which was pushed by the World Peace Council, which is a Chinese communist front. And so that's Penny Wong. She is completely pro-China, completely anti-Western. And this is why she is so critical of Israel and so accommodating of Hamas, because the Communist Party of Australia has always pushed the Palestinian cause. Many of the Search Foundation people are tied to leading members of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, a certified terrorist communist group. And so they will push the Palestinian line and do everything they can to undermine Israel in Australia. That's they have been the Search Foundation. The Labour for Palestine is a Search Foundation front, and they have been pushing the Labour Party all around the country to adopt pro-Palestine, anti-Israel positions. So Penny Wong is following that line.
Why do you think not why do you think, it's the wrong question. The Labor Party's obsession with activist organizations, I mean, the climate change cult, I mean, you name it, if it's a left-wing idea, I mean, they're driving our nation broke with this climate change cult and that incompetent Chris Bowen. Why do they push these agendas? Are they communist agendas? Are they just globalist agendas? Can you give us some enlightenment on this, Trevor?
Well, they are both. I have a whole chapter in the book there about Albanese's connections.
Yeah, you
to
got to
Labor.
get this book, folks. You got to get. Look, sorry to jump in. The footnotes. I mean, it is just amazing. This is so well researched. I mean, footnotes, photos. I mean, you name it, it's in there. So, sorry, Trevor, I cut you off.
Yeah, well, no problem. Look, the Labour Environmental Action Network is a front for the Search Foundation, and that pushes these green policies into the Labour Party. They also work with the Greens. Adam Bant, his deputy, the Green Senator from South Australia, Barbara Pocock, is a Search Foundation member. Adam Bant is deeply involved with the Search Foundation. So is the deputy, Maureen Farouk. Many of the leading Greens are Search Foundation comrades, many of them. And so, and I quote them in the book, the Search Foundation believes in using the environmental movement to bring socialism to Australia, because they say openly, there are too many people in the world. We need to reduce the number of people, bring about socialism by getting rid of capitalism. Well, there's no better way to destroy Australian business than to flood the business community with environmental regulations, carbon zero targets. This is all 100% communist driven, and it is the Search Foundation. They control the virtually all of the major environmental movements in Australia are controlled through the Search Foundation.
Wow.
And, and so Albanese is doing this. So this is how it works. The communists set a policy. They get all their organizations to promote this policy. We saw that with The Voice, where the ACTU got behind it, and the Aboriginal organizations, and a whole bunch of Labor Party branches and Greens and whatever. So they do it from the grassroots, but then they have so many people in the leadership of the Labor Party, like Albanese, like Tim Gartrell, like Tim Ayres, and a whole bunch of others I could name, and they push it from the top. And what they say is, well, this is popular. Albanese is saying, well, everybody wants The Voice. The unions are behind it. The Aboriginal groups are behind it. The Labor Party's behind it. Well, we got to have it, right? Because the Search Foundation is orchestrating all of those groups at the grassroots level, and they have people like Albanese and Tim Gartrell and Linda Burney and Tim Ayres and a whole bunch of other cabinet ministers, and the head of the Maritime Workers Union, what's his name, Paddy Crumlin. All of these people are in this clique, and they're all pushing the same agenda. So absolutely, the net carbon zero, the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal was invented by the Communist Party and the Democratic Socialists of America. In America, the group that promotes Bernie Sanders and AOC and all those people. And the Search Foundation works directly with Democratic Socialists of America to implement their policies in Australia.
Trevor, the Teals and the Greens. I mean, sadly, the Greens they're not the party that was established. They've gone from a group of people that were caring for the environment to anti-Christian, haters of the Jewish people, extreme in their ideology. Tell us about the Greens and the Teals, if you could, what you know, and how dangerous these people are. And people, you need to listen very carefully. A vote for Teal is a vote for red shirts. They are not just a bunch of lovely women out there funded by a billionaire that are caring for the environment. That is an insidious lie. Can you tell us, please, Teals and the Greens?
Yeah, well, the Teals are so-called independents, but they all push left-wing criminal policy. They all push the environmental policies, but they sort of have a more semi-conservative, the Teals are there to sell socialist policies to moderate Australians. That's their job. They're to sell policy.
So why would a billionaire or supposed billionaire get behind? Wouldn't that be a threat to his income, or would that prop up his income?
Well, why does Bill Gates support socialist causes? Why does so many billionaires? This is the thing about communism. What is communism? It's not equal dividing of the wealth. It's centralizing all wealth and all power in a very few hands. There are certain billionaires who just love power, and they don't want competition. They don't want a smart inventor coming up and competing with them. They want to have monopoly control. So they
Right.
will often fund left-wing causes to promote certain regulations that they will be able to cope with, but smaller businesses won't. So it's
Right.
not unusual. Well, George Soros in the United States is a
Yeah.
classic example of
Yeah.
this, a billionaire who promotes communist causes like crazy. So the
Mm.
Teals are there to sell basically Marxist environmental policies to more moderate Australians who wouldn't vote, necessarily for the Greens or Labor.
Wow.
It's to capture that would have once gone to the Australian Democrats or whatever. That's what it's for. The
Mm.
Greens are a communist party. Adam Bant has a communist background. Maureen Faruqi is involved with the Search Foundation.
Mm.
Barbara Pocock, the senator from South Australia, is a Search Foundation member, married to another Search Foundation member, a former leader of the South Australian Communist Party. Both of her children are Search Foundation members. Both of them, one was a Search Foundation board member who worked for Adam Bant as his chief of staff. So I could give you a whole list of senior Green Party members who are Search Foundation members or Marxist or affiliated with other Marxist groups. The
Mm.
Green Party, the Greens are a Marxist party. Doesn't mean the old lady next door who goes out and door knocks for the Greens is a communist. But any environmental strand in the Greens has been frozen out. The Bob Brown strand has been now
Yeah.
frozen out by the Marxists. It is a Marxist party now, 100% controlled almost completely by the Search Foundation working out of Sydney.
So some might say, come on, Trevor, they're associated, they're members, they're just there because obviously they want their votes. But really, what harm is there of them being members of Search, aka the Communist Party of Australia? I mean, what harm could there be?
Well, the Voice Foundation, the Voice referendum almost changed Australia's constitution
Mm.
to the point a small group of radicals could have had veto power over every decision made by Parliament. You
Wow.
came that close to
Yeah.
having a bunch of radicals controlling your country.
Mm.
The environmental movement is on the verge of destroying the Australian economy and
Mm.
affecting millions of jobs and your standard of living because the Chinese want you poor. So then you're more dependent on China. You'll do what you're told. So
Mm.
the Search Foundation is basically out there to reduce your population,
Mm.
impoverish your country, and take away the voters' control of a parliament. This is as much of a communist organization as the Communist Party of Cuba or the
Mm.
Communist Party of China, but it
Mm.
controls the ACTU, it controls the left, Labor left, it controls the Greens, it controls most of the environmental movements in Australia, and most of your major left-wing unions. So 600 people, these are the most powerful people in Australia. These people are more powerful than the Liberal coalition right now.
Wow.
Their policies are being implemented.
I'm so glad that you mentioned about
Second
poverty. Sorry, Trevor.
term Albanese, it's going on steroids. I promise you.
Can you say that again, please?
Second term Albanese, that's when the real communism starts. That's
Absolutely.
when it's going to go hard.
Now, I'm really glad you mentioned economics because now listen, folks, next Wednesday, listen to me. Obviously, it won't be on Fate. Next Wednesday, I'm bringing in Peter Schiff. Now, Peter Schiff was a guy who sued 60 Minutes and won. And this guy is one of the smartest financial guys on the planet. And you're gonna hear about the economic disaster, the economic battlefield that's before us. I'll put a link in the chat and at the end, but that's next Wednesday with Peter Schiff. You've got to register for that one. I just want to jump in because you mentioned about Labor's plan and the communist plan to have everybody broke, which is why they pretend they're giving you tax cuts, but then taking it from the other side. Trevor, this obsession and how can I say it, love affair with Islam that Albanese and Penny Wong, Jason Clare, we'll get to him in a minute. I mean, we just had a situation where two nurses at Bankstown Hospital
Yes, I
Uh,
saw that.
yeah, you saw that. Now, I was born in Bankstown Hospital. My father helped build Bankstown Hospital as a labourer. And Jason Clare, that recalcitrant grub, he's not made one statement. He's a federal member. He hasn't said a damn thing. So they send the New South Wales guy, but nothing from federal. Albanese has not come out. He says the full force of the law. What law? There is no law. And if you have a law, you don't push it. According to these changes that they've just made, these two should be getting 7 years in prison. Nothing has happened up to this point. Why do they have this love affair with Islam, apart from the fact that they import problems? Can you tell us and expose this for us, please?
Well, look, in the States, we call this the red-green axis. Now, this started in the Soviet times when the Soviets first took over Russia. They clamped down on the Christian churches, but they didn't dare do that to the mosques because they didn't have as much control in those areas. So they took over the mosques. They called it Soviet Islam. The Soviets helped to set up the Palestine Liberation Organization. They set up the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Most of the Arab Muslim terrorist groups have communist roots, and they cooperate with the local communist parties in Jordan and Syria and Iraq and all of these places. Well, that has come to Australia. When you brought a lot of these people in, like I just saw a little document the other day of a meeting of the new Communist Party of Australia, meeting with members of the Syrian, Iraqi, Jordanian, and Lebanese communist parties in Australia. So the communists use Islam as a battering ram against the West. They use them to dominate certain areas, to change the politics of areas. Look, who has more lobbying power? Who's the Labor Party more scared of in Australia today? The Jewish community or the Muslim community?
Yeah.
Who do you think they dance to? You
Yeah.
know, so they like many years ago, they cared about the Jewish community and they would at least pretend to be pro-Israel. Now they've thrown that under the bus. They are full on. The Muslim community largely votes for the left, is heavily infiltrated by the communist parties of the left, works closely with the communist parties. You see this in America. Students for Justice in Palestine, which has been rioting all over America, was set up by two communists.
Wow.
You know, so the left are going to gravitate towards the Palestinian cause. Labor for Palestine is a front for the Search Foundation. All
Wow.
of the leaders of it are Search Foundation communists.
Wow.
So it is pushing the Palestinian program into the left wing of the Labor Party. And as the Labor left is now the dominant faction, it is the policy of the Labor Party now, backed up by the Greens and others. So, yeah, Islam is a battering ram against conservatives, against Christians, against those who would resist the communist agenda. And sometimes it's handy to have people fighting Christians who can't be openly identified as communists, but believe me, the communists are stirring them up. There's no question about that.
I'm going to ask Trevor one more question. It's so pertinent. But guys, listen very carefully. This Sunday on our platforms, I'm going to be speaking about the future of Gaza. And Gaza, for all the wrong reasons, is now so preeminent in our news. What is the future of Gaza? What does this Donald Trump idea have to do with what's happening in light of what does the Bible say? Now, I know some of you aren't believers, but just hang with me anyway. Sunday morning, 8 a.m., we are going to expose the origins of Gaza, the addiction to taking hostages. I'm going to show you all of this, and the future of Gaza. And next Wednesday, Peter Schiff, we are going to be talking about the economic battlefield, and we're going to give you some strategies to really cope. That's next Wednesday. Now, I'm going to put the link in the chat, and also we may have it up on the screen, but it'll definitely be in the chat. Trevor, I know you're a busy guy, and again, I want everyone to go to Amazon and get this book. Everyone to go on and get this book. It is eye-opening, and what I love is it's not just a bunch of hearsay. There's documentation, photos, footnotes, incredibly researched. Trevor, What is Australia's future if Albo Sleazy and Penny Wrong get a second term? What are we in for?
What you're going to see is a general impoverishment of the population and a much deeper alignment with China. China will be allowed much more access to the economy on their terms, and the eventual goal is to make make Australia a puppet of China. And look, Australia will be used to facilitate the movement of China through the Pacific. You know, most Australians don't understand that East Timor, for instance, has a communist government, which is now negotiating with the Chinese to set up a base. Well, it was the Communist Party of Australia working through the Australian Foreign Affairs Department that got the Australian military to go in and set up a communist government in East Timor.
Wow.
So you can see this going all, look, if you think first term Albanese was bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. He's going to go super hard on the social policies, anti-freedom of speech. All that will be shut down. Environmental policies will just wreck your business, except the few businesses who donate to the Labor Party. And you will see greater alignment with China to the point you cannot extricate yourself. That it's gone too far. So this is every election they say is the most important one. Well, we just had the most important one in America, and thankfully it went the right way. We got to make sure it goes the right way this time, because if Albanese gets in, the voice will come back. It's already being implemented at state level. The goal is to give small groups of people complete control over the Australian economy, your freedom of speech, every facet of power. Australians are heading for great misery. It'll be on the road to Venezuela. And I'm not saying that hyperbolically. Albanese is as much of a communist as Hugo Chavez, as much of a communist as him or Fidel Castro. That's the road he's going to lead you down. And so, you know, it might take a while, and some states might resist for longer, but he will clamp down on political financing. He will fund his own Labor Party out of your taxpayers' purse like you wouldn't believe. Look, all the corruption they're now discovering in America, all the feather bedding and the money going back to the Democratic Party that Elon Musk is discovering now, that will be Australia.
We certainly need someone like a Trump in Australia. I don't know that Dutton's got the gonads to do it, but Trevor, thank you so much. Again, everyone, Comrade Prime Minister, you want to read it. And what I love about Trevor, he said to me, Pat, I don't care about the book and whether the book gets promoted. I just care about the message. And Trevor, I want to thank you for being a freedom fighter and being, you know, a whistleblower, if I could call it, to telling us the truth. Something that I've always said, Albanese is a communist with lipstick on. And I was ridiculed, I was laughed about, called it conspiracy theories, but here's the proof, folks. Trevor, thank you so much for being on the program today.
Oh, look, it's been an honor. And look, I want Australia to prosper. It does, you know, Aussie's a great country, and you can turn things around so quickly. You've got so many advantages. Don't let that guy wreck your country. You know, don't let him do it. You know, a lot of my family lives there, people, you know, a quarter of New Zealand lives in Australia.
That's right. All right, guys, this Sunday on this platform, we will be speaking about the future of Gaza. And then next Wednesday, please register for the event with Peter Schiff, and let's have a look at the economic battlefield to come. Again, those registrations are free. We cannot obviously put it on this platform, Facebook and social media. So you need to register. It will blow you away what's happening. And let me tell you, Trump is not your enemy economically. They're turning him into an enemy economically, and we need to get strategies to go forward. Trevor, thank you once again, and God bless you, everybody.
God bless. Thank you. Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Trevor.